Hello there! Welcome, everybody! Woo! Hello! Welcome to our brain-busting bonanza that will take you outside the boundaries of your own imagination and into craziness, really. So, without further ado, let's get started with our first writing prompt and get our creative juices flowing. My Uber driver was completely incompetent. Supposed to be like, how incompetent was they? No. And that was just the beginning of my night. Alright, so what do we think? What happened next? Alright, so how incompetent was this Uber driver after all? And what was the next step here? What makes an Uber driver incompetent? There's lots of things there. Maybe they don't know how to drive. Maybe they drove you to the wrong location. Alright, hold on here. I need to move my screen so I can see. Got lost in the bad part of town. Then my date tried to suck my lips off, so completely different direction. So, forget the driver. Then this night got worse. Yeah, it's got lost in the bad part of town. That's great. Yeah, they're trying to drive you to West Green Street, and they drive you to East Green Street, which is the wrong part of town or something like that. Getting lost in the bad part of town is a great story hook, right? Because that's where you can put somebody in a terrible situation, kind of immerse them, ratchet up the tension. Perhaps they discover something. I mean, it worked for J.K. Rowling, right? The whole nocturnality thing in Chamber of Secrets. See as a crime, has to run for it. Yeah, the typical story hook, like a Sister Act and a bunch of madcap comedies where somebody witnesses something and then gets thrust into a scenario they don't want to be in. So let's move on. Topical. My spouse decided to experiment with Gorilla Glue. Now there'll be no separating them from... All right. There's lots of different ways you could go with this. And in case you didn't realize it, we actually have multiple stories of this now. It's become more of a thing because we had the original one with the hair. And now apparently somebody silo cupped their face. They put a silo cup on their face and had to go to the ER. So if you are partaking in the hashtag Gorilla Glue challenge, I request that you stop because it's not going to end well. Unless you want to be a story on the Brainstormer. Earphones, yeah, okay, I could see that. It's like I want to make sure they're noise canceling. So
noise canceling forever.
It's like I feel like this headset is permanently glued to my face, so might as well, you know. Let's just integrate the technology. It's like Elon Musk, chip me, please. Just make it happen. You have to ask fast. Wow, you actually have a Gorilla Glue story? That's amazing. First-hand experience on the Brainstormer of what happens. I'm just imagining like a fun story where literally the protagonist has to spend the whole story glued to something. And they just have to interact with it the whole time for just some reason, you know. And it could actually like become helpful. It could be like that Chekhov's gun that you pay off in the end. All right, let's move on. Snowmageddon 2021. Yes, I'm in Florida, so sorry everyone. We're that little sunshiny spot, and there's that blue wave. My relatives in Texas have snow, which is not normal for Texas. The weather this winter is getting so ridiculous that now there's an ice storm headed towards
Salissa's house.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? That would be pretty crazy.
Toward AutoCrit headquarters, also located in Florida.
San Diego, right?
Oh my
It reminds me
goodness.
of like the day after tomorrow, right? Where you have those crazy, and then they're like outrunning the cold. It's like the frost is heading towards them, as if like the frost goes down hallways and turns. I love that part. Like, I don't think that's how it works, but it's a ticking clock. Death Valley. Lots of snow on the volcanoes on the Big Island in Hawaii, huh? Wow. Nice.
Nice.
That must be interesting too, because they're still active, right? So don't you still have the mixture of like lava and ice? And so that must be really interesting to observe. Like, what does that do? Fire and ice, literally. A song of fire and ice on the big island.
It's been told not so much fire at 14,000 feet. That's where the snow is.
Yeah.
Lava's further down.
Yeah.
I got corrected. I haven't been to Big Island yet.
I gotcha. But that's cool and hot. it's fun playing with that, but that also goes to
Cool
show
and
whenever
hot.
you're
Oh, Daniel.
when you're imagining different settings, don't be afraid to have those sort of contrasts, because contrasts like that can happen in nature, and also things can change in a dime on a dime. We have a sunny day and then a really cold day, and don't forget to use weather. Weather can play an important part in your story. It can create conflict. It could be a setting thing. It could be a motif, to get a theme across. Lots of potential options there. All right. Think of a famous story, but don't share what it is. Just type it out so you can't cheat later and change it. But you don't have to share what it is. Once everybody has it, we can continue. All right, lady's got her story. And for those of you on YouTube that are watching, if you want to be, I know there's a bit of a lag, if you want to be part of our chat and be a part of our live studio audience, go to www.autocrit.com/live, click on the link for Brainstormer, and join our Zoom meeting. It is open to all. As long as you know the secret password, which is www.autocrit.com/live. That's basically all you need to know. It's your ticket. All right, so everyone got a famous story? Okay. The viewpoint character has changed to a 6-year-old. Now, what does that do to the story? Yeah, this could really break a lot of stories, right? Especially if the plot, the conflict is much more sophisticated, right? Because how would they understand it? But it reminds me of To Kill a Mockingbird is a famous example of this, where the viewpoint character is somebody that doesn't quite... No, it doesn't have to be a 6-year-old human, although how anthropomorphic you want to make an animal is up to you, I suppose. But certainly there's been stories told by an anthropomorphic dog before. What was that? The Dog's Journey or Dog's... I don't ever see those movies because they're always sad, so I didn't see it. A Dog's Life or whatever.
Oh,
Yeah,
true.
I don't see dog dying movies. It's a thing.
That's a
I
hard
don't even
rule
own
in
a
life.
pet, and I can't do it, so I can't even imagine people who have a pet. It's shorter. But anyway, to get back to Kill a Mockingbird. To Kill a Mockingbird, the protagonist is Atticus Finch, but the viewpoint character is Scout, and that makes such a big impact on the work because Scout doesn't have that maturity to fully grasp everything, and she's taking it in a more simple level, which in some ways elevates the themes and the conflict of the story. So it definitely could enhance whatever story. So what stories did we come up with? I'm curious. Gone with the Wind. Yeah, no, that would be an interesting one from the standpoint of a child, right? Because you've got the war going on and the relationship conflicts that they wouldn't really know exactly what's going on. So it'd be a lot of fighting. Black Beauty. Oh, okay. Yeah.
I had Christmas Carol. And the
Oh,
6-year-old
Christmas
would
Carol.
love ghosts. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, or a Christmas Carol told from like the Tiny Tim's viewpoint would be interesting, right?
Oh, good one.
Yeah. I think Black Beauty is older than 6 at the end of the book. I don't know much about horses, so Sure. You are right. Especially if Tiny Tim could see the ghost, right?
Wouldn't that
What if
be
Tiny
fun?
Tim was involved? Like, what if it was like Tiny Tim's prayer that kind of started the whole thing in motion to like reform Scrooge, and he was like getting to see Scrooge go through this transformation? What if the whole thing was a thing that Tiny Tim made with like special effects? And or something like that, and it was a big illusion that Tiny Tim put on in order to like, I don't know. And there are lots of different ways to go with it. Interesting. There's an interesting twist on Netflix or Hulu. Okay. Of Christmas Carol, is that what you're talking about? About Christmas Carol. Oh, okay. Yeah, there's lots of interesting stories. That story has been uh remade a billion times. But it's a classic. It's a classic. All right, let's move on. Picture a beautiful place to visit. It's very hard for Celissa. She's not near any beautiful places. So. Got a very rough life.
Right? She's like, my yard.
Yeah, right?
My garden.
All right, so picturing a beautiful place to visit. It's a beautiful day in the state. But maybe not your neighborhood. Maybe it's a place you'd like to go to.
We're ruling out all the places we earlier said we're getting snow.
Right. Unless you really like snow. Although I always thought there's only 3 people that like snow, and that is artists, children, and nuts. I don't know what about nutty children artists. I guess they must really like snow. All right, so we've got our beautiful place to visit. As you can imagine, there'll be a twist. So make it interesting. Give yourself some meat on the bones. Try to make it specific enough that when the twist comes, it'll be interesting. All right, so we have it. Beautiful place to visit. Okay, what's the twist? What would make it the ugliest place to visit? Yeah, that's interesting. Flip it on its head. What would ruin it? And what would ruin it could be an interesting way of thinking. This is something to keep in mind with your stories. Sometimes we make the environment way too friendly for the characters. So it kind of loses a lot of options for the environment itself to be in conflict, and that can really escalate tension as well. I mean, it kind of already happens. Uh-oh, lady. I'm not sure what you're getting at. Where was your place? Cape Cod. Oh, okay. So do you mean like human behavior? Is that what you're saying? Ah, the next hurricane powers through, leaves it bare. Yeah, it's true. And that's something too to keep in mind in a story, is that you can have a character approach the same location, and maybe something has happened and it really changes the impact of the location on them. And that can be thematic, It could be purple too. It depends on how you do it. It can be so obvious that it's like, whack, get the meaning of my story. But sometimes it can just enhance that mood going on. The character's in a dark place and it's winter outside. Getting back to Harry Potter, I like to play Harry Potter. It's a famous series. J.K. Rowling uses seasons a lot in her work to kind of reflect Halloween. Often something pretty terrible happens, and it's kind of creepy and stuff. So it all kind of works together, and it gives you a sense of rhythm throughout her stories. It's kind of fun too by the time you get to like the 6th book, because you're like, okay, something's gonna go down because she's established this rhythm. All right, let's write down another title of a story. I like doing this. Think of a story, and it doesn't have to be a book. It could be a movie. It could be a television show. It could be The Cat in the Hat. It could be Fox and Socks. I don't know. You may not have a lot of meat to work with for Fox and Socks, but it's possible. I'm getting really good at Fox and Socks. I have a 4-year-old, so I can rattle that at chicks with bricks come, chicks with blocks come, chicks with bricks and blocks with blocks come. Looks, Mr. Laxter. Let's do tricks with clicks and clocks. Let's do tricks with chicks and clocks. Yeah. That should be like one of our AutoCrit live shows. Daniel reads Fox and Son. I've seen this person do it with like a beatbox rhythm. Am I available to babysit? All right, who is the villain of your story? Well, if you want to fly me to Hawaii, I will babysit for you, no problem. That is fine by me. I have never been there, and I've been to 47 states, so I got to get it off the list eventually. It's just hard to take a road trip to Hawaii, so I haven't been there yet. We'll get that bridge built eventually. Uh, who is the villain of the story? All right, so what would happen if it turned out they were really a zombie? Oh, we're just like going completely zonkers here. Apparently, Lady has a good one for this one. Hopefully you picked, like, Pride and Prejudice. Of course, Pride and Prejudice with zombies is already a thing. The Great Gatsby. I don't know. Anne of Green Gables. What? But speaking of which, Pride and Prejudice and zombies and that mashup, that is something to consider, you know, mashing up your genres. And even if you don't want to go as blatant as it's an actual zombie, it's like, you know, you can break it down more abstract, think about crazy villains in other stories and getting that sort of feel, that tone, that gravitas to your own antagonist, especially depending on the genre you're working in, because sometimes it's easier, like fantasy, it's a lot easier to make an epic villain than it might be in like a romance, but that doesn't mean you don't want to have a character that is very imposing and powerful and all of that. So what kind of stories did we come up with? What villains have become zombies here? Ooh, Bruce Willis is now a zombie, and he succeeds in destroying the world. The antagonist goes for the protagonist for revenge for accidentally killing his sister. So like zombie brother revenge. Yeah, that gets that's interesting. It's a zombie with a grudge. That's the worst kind of zombie, if you ask me. And here I just thought you wanted to eat me. Nope, you actually have it in for me. The Fifth Element. Wow, I haven't seen that movie in so long. And no guns. Oh, no guns in this world? Is that what you're saying? Yeah. There's different ways of defeating zombies, though. I mean, they're zombies. You can decide how they're defeated. The power of paprika compels you. All right. That would be actually a pretty fun story. I like the idea. I've never done this. This is a story hook. Feel free to use this, anyone. Steal it out there, internet. I've always loved the idea of somebody who has a really good skill of cooking, and somehow their skill of cooking ends up saving their life because they're able to mask like a poisonous ingredient in a dish and kill off somebody that needs to be killed off. I just think that would be a fun payoff to a character core. Celissa, you write mystery. My friend decided to throw a special party for Galileo's birthday. By the way, it's Galileo's birthday today, apparently. At least that's what Twitter's told me. The only problem was, what could go wrong with Galileo's birthday party? I love it. Galileo. And I love character quirks like this, when people throw stuff like that. It's a fun way to show people when they do things. It's like, come over to my Galileo birthday party. And you're like, okay. But it tells you something about the person. They are either somebody who just wants to celebrate for no good reason, or they're somebody who's incredibly nerdy and passionate about their astronomer history. COVID, no one come to the party. Well, yeah, that's true, right? Right now, the poor person's all sitting there by themselves with their punch bowl. They have to do it virtually. It has to be a Zoom party. And then somebody shows up as a cat. The stars weren't aligned properly for the celebration. I do like that. Especially, too, if it's like, that kind of gets to like a horoscope and astrology and like what if it is somebody who's into astrology and their friend celebrates Galileo and they don't really like Galileo because they like to think of the universe more like ethereal, and he was trying to like pin it down and make it scientific and take all the fun out of studying stars because, you know, he wanted to look at it all scientifically. My thought was they actually thought that Galileo was one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so that was their problem. I couldn't find the song that has Galileo in it. Isn't that Bohemian Rhapsody? Yeah. Galileo. Yeah. I would sing it, but my this stream has been pulled for copyright infringement. But yes. But yes, Galileo is a great phonetic word. Galileo. You know, it sounds really nice. Not used enough. Use it as a character name. That's your little. All right, write down a noun and don't share what it is. All right, so think about it. We're thinking about nouns. All right. Do we have our nouns? Okay. It's like going back to your Mad Libs day, right? Okay, here we go. Car features are getting out of hand. I mean, who needs a blank in the glove box? I'm curious where we go with this one. Got crazy stuff coming out of glove boxes. So what do we got? What kind of things are coming out of the glove box? Who needs a house and a glove box? It's very interesting. That kind of like my imagination kind of takes hold of that, and it's like I'm imagining this way that they're encapsulating entire like person's existence and then they're driving around with them for some reason. It's kind of Black Mirror-esque where they can like put you in this little, they can put your consciousness in this little device. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Oh, it's not a cube. So somebody comment in the YouTube. You'll be able to tell me. And they encapsulate your soul into your consciousness into this little device, and so they can control everything, time and existence. And I'm just picturing like this person driving around with like all of these people just in a car. Very dark. Who needs a house in a glove box? Or it's like Harry Potter if you want to go like the fantasy route, right? And so like you open up the glove box, or it's like Narnia, you open up the glove box, or Alice in Wonderland, and it just so happens there's like a whole universe inside somebody's car. That would be cool, especially if it's like a really like quirky car and they like find it in this like mall parking lot. It's like an ice cream truck, and then they like go in and it like pulls them into this vortex. I love portals. Portals are always fun. All right, Celissa, what was your noun? What do we have? A pineapple? Who needs a pineapple in the glove box? I would love a pineapple in my glove box. Pineapple's delicious. They are very delicious, and they smell good, too. I actually just found out that they actually don't grow a lot of pineapples in Hawaii anymore. That it's mostly on the mainland. Is I just thought that was funny because I was looking it up. I was like, I'm curious. According to what I saw, it's like 3%. I was like, really? Wow. Yeah. Things have changed. It got expensive, I guess. This has been your agricultural update for Brainstorm. You never know what we're going to talk about on this. All right. So anybody else have any nouns they want to share? What did you have, Beth? Or I'm not sure if you're there. Anybody on YouTube out there? YouTube is awfully quiet. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any of your comments. I don't think so. All right. Well, we can move on because it is time for our grand finale, which is our big storm. Bum, bum, bum. All right. So what we have finally is The Big Storm, where we're going to look at some of our highlights. Yes, how can we make these answers into a story hook? Let's kind of pull all this together. So here's some of the highlights we've talked about. We've talked about volcanoes with snow, 6-year-old horses, an ice cream truck portal, and Gorilla Glue headphones. So, um, Hmm. I'm really thinking like there you go to this portal, right? Well, you have an ice cream truck and the snow, right? So you have like the cold and the heat. So you go into this portal where you end up in this magical land with these contrasts, right? So something like volcanoes with snow. So you have fire and ice and different things that don't go together. And in terms of the headphones, I'm thinking of it's a commentary on the fact that people are just too glued to their electronic devices. So this kid is like glued to his electronic devices all the time, and he doesn't really have a lot of imagination, or she doesn't have a lot of imagination, and then she gets sucked into this crazy fantasy world with a 6-year-old horse that, of course, talks because why not? And you have this contrast of things going on, volcanoes with snow and things like that. I don't know. What do we think? Anything come to your mind tossing around these ideas? An ice cream truck pulled by a 6-year-old horse. Okay, I'm liking this. The driver has headstone glued to his head as they travel along the volcano with snow on it. And the ice cream truck has a portal in it to Neverland. Interesting. So, like, is the ice cream truck driver like the reason why he has those headphones glued to his head is he's like brainwashed? he like he like must take the ice cream truck somewhere because it has a portal to this magical place that other people don't want people to get into or something. And it's like an ice cream truck pulled by a horse, right? So that's putting us back in time. So this is like, Victorian era or something. So I'm feeling like this urban fantasy sort of Finding Neverland feel. The driver is a zombie. Oh, okay. So it's somebody who's dead who's pulling this ice cream truck. Well, that kind of fits, like when you're dead and you're kind of on ice and frozen. So that kind of fits, right? And frozenness is I. So and they travel around a volcano with snow on it. Maybe they're creating the snow, right? This is like a snow thing, like it brings the cold with it because it feels very sinister, but yet somehow it has a portal in it to this magical place. It's like the imagination of the world is encapsulated in this thing, and it's like going away, and somebody has to like conquer the zombie and find the way into the portal so that they can it's like a never-ending story, right? If there's going to be like the imagination is gone in the world unless they can go in. That would be fun. I like it. All right. Let's see what else we got. The 6-year-old horse breaks out, runs up the volcano. Owner is chasing it with an ice cream truck where he accidentally grabs the headphones from the glove box and sends himself, the truck, and the horse to the top of a volcano. Whoa, escalation. Oh, I see. So this is this crazy mix-up beginning, right? I like it. He ex chasing it with it where he accidentally grabs the headphones from the glove and sends himself the truck to the top of a volcano. Yeah, and I'm like, well, then what happens? It's like that's like the worst excuse. What happened to all our company assets? Well, they fell into a volcano. You know, it happens sometimes. What can I say? Can I still keep the gig? Is that okay? See you next Tuesday, right, Bob? All right. So thank you for joining us on the Brainstormer today. Tomorrow, we invite you to join us for our AutoCrit Power Hour, where we will be doing a What's the Score? So, um, and you can join us on that. And every Tuesday at 1 p.m. for our AutoCrit Power Hour. Also, tomorrow we will be doing Book Blender, and that's later here Eastern Time, 10 o'clock, and that's where we mix up a book, different character, different antagonist, different protagonist. Oh yes, and Pitch It. Pitch It is also tomorrow. I forgot about Pitch It. Thank you, lady. And that is at 7 p.m. And Pitch It is where you can come with your story ideas, character ideas, setting ideas, whatever you want to pitch. You can say, would you be interested in X? So you can either think of it as your elevator pitch, like you're approaching us on an elevator. That's usually where elevator pitches happen. And you have to describe your story in just a brief amount of time, like we were an agent or things like that. Pitch It will be 7 p.m. Eastern. So. Too late, Alyssa? Is that what you're saying?
On Tuesday, tomorrow.
Yes, Tuesday, yes.
No, not too late.
Okay, all right. All right, perfect. Yeah, and for Pitch It, you can always email me at daniel@autocrit.com if you want, but really the idea is, for you to come in and just do it on the fly as if, I don't know anything about it or anybody else who's involved in our panel knows about it, because it's like, what if you just met us on the street? Can you get our interest in about 30 seconds? And, a little bit longer than that to maybe go in more detail. We might ask you questions and things like that to give you more, to give you advice on maybe things that could make your story hook stronger, or just different things you maybe didn't think about in terms of where the story could go. So that will be tomorrow. So thank you so much for joining us on AutoCrit Live. Lots of things tomorrow, 3 shows. I hope to see you then. In the meantime, bye everybody. Oh, you're welcome. It was fun. For sure.